So today I'll be discussing with you my current client, Jake, who has just begun therapy for his symptoms of anxiety. Jake has stated that he has a history of anxiety and has experienced it on and off throughout his life. And more recently, it's become more intense for him as he's begun a new role as a human resource manager. And this has caused him to feel an increase in the intensity of the internal pressure. It's also caused him to become worried about making mistakes at work. He's begun checking his work numerous times before submitting his work, also agreeing to unrealistic deadlines that sort of adds to the existing pile of work he has and creates more stress. And he's also having worries that his boss will regret promoting him. Jake has also stated that he's having difficulty switching off from work when he goes home, and he's worried this is negatively impacting his relationship with Cherie, his girlfriend who he lives with. Overall, he feels as though he's not coping well, and he's begun to dread going to work. Jake's denied any use of drugs and or alcohol and has reported no suicidal ideation or any history of suicidality, so we won't need to make any interventions there. Well, I won't need to make any interventions there. As we've gained this information from Jake in the initial session, the initial interview, I've now looked at the short-term objective for my next session with Jake, and that is to help Jake become aware and recognize both his problematic thoughts and the subsequent behaviors that maintain these thoughts. And then I will follow this. I will teach Jake some coping skills. This is in line with the longer-term goal for improving Jake's symptoms of anxiety. For my sessions with Jake, I've chosen the therapeutic modality of cognitive behavioral therapy, so CBT. CBT, as I've looked at the previous research, has revealed as highly efficacious as for treatment with anxiety. It's got extensive empirical support. It's often referred to as the gold standard first-line treatment for anxiety. So that's the therapy that I've chosen. So there are some factors to be mindful of for sessions with Jake. Jake displays symptoms of self-oriented perfectionism. So this involves setting unrelenting and unrealistic standards for himself, criticism of himself, and concern with making mistakes. So these are all things that Jake has reported already. Perfectionism can involve positive aspects as well as negative, and this is including things like achievement, striving for achievement, and being very conscientious. And these aspects may be beneficial for Jake and work as a strength for him during session, especially in areas like learning these new coping skills. This might be something he could excel in. However, they could in turn also feed into Jake's current issues. So it is something I need to be mindful of as either a strength or a weakness or both for Jake in the following sessions and in the next session. Jake has demonstrated help-seeking behavior, which I've identified as a strength, and also awareness, as he has shown he's aware that he's experiencing anxiety and problematic thoughts and behaviors. So for the next session, the first step I'm going to approach is helping Jake recognize his problematic thoughts and maintaining behaviors. And I will be looking at doing this through a functional behavior analysis. So an example that I'll run through with Jake is looking at the antecedent, the behavior, and the consequence. And in Jake's situation, I would outline to him and help him recognize, for example, the worrying of his boss regretting promoting him as the antecedent, followed by, he's maintaining behaviors of checking his work multiple times before submitting it and agreeing to more work that are with deadlines he doesn't feel he can meet. And that this is followed by the consequence of his emotions of stress, dread, anxiety. And following this, I'll introduce and teach Jake some coping skills for when these worries and these anxious thoughts arise, and also for when aiming to cease those behaviors and cease those thoughts to replace the anxiety that arises with these coping skills. And the coping skills that I'm going to look at with Jake, we'll be exploring, is cognitive restructuring, which is a key element of CBT. So that is looking at those thoughts that he's having and stopping them when they come, and then working at challenging and reframing them. So an example I'm going to explore with Jake is when he's having that thought of worrying about his boss regretting promoting him, thinking he's not right for the role, asking Jake, what evidence does he have for this thought? What has made him think this? Another is diaphragmatic breathing for a relaxation technique for Jake. And this just involves the really deep breathing in and out that can have a relaxation effect on the body. And another is also muscle relaxation. So that involves for Jake tensing and relaxing the different muscles in his body. And this signals to the mind also a form of relaxation. I'll assign these coping skills to Jake as like a homework, and he can work through these and practice them outside of session and explore which work best for him. I'll also be exploring with Jake ways for him to switch off after work, to create that boundary between work and home. So one of those will be suggesting employing those coping skills, whichever works best for him. Another is turning off any work notifications and or emails, electronic devices, reminders. And also, Jake mentioned he previously, prior to beginning this role, would play basketball with friends in the afternoons weekly, which is something he really enjoyed. And he's since stopped doing that as he just has found he hasn't had the time to be doing it. So just exploring whether it's a possibility for Jake to recommence playing basketball with friends. And lastly, for the name for next session is also exploring with Jake. He expressed his worries about these issues of his impacting his relationship with Cherie. So something I'll be working through with him is suggesting some communication, an open dialogue he could have with Cherie, and asking her how she feels his anxiety is affecting her and their relationship.